Hello and welcome to the El Nuclear channel. Today I wanted to discuss an engineer-producer, a man whose career spanned 75 years. The genres that he worked in were vast. He touched many people's lives, both personally and professionally. He was an amazing guy, did incredible work, and demonstrates a work ethic that is rarely seen. His experience, how he came up in the business. His uncle was a recording engineer who he admired and worked for and observed and learned from as a young kid, as a teenager, and eventually became one of the most well-renowned engineers of all time. I'm talking about Mr. Al Schmitt. His work goes so far back, and he was so good from an early age. One of the first records he worked on, or at least one of the more popular records from the earlier years, was a collaboration between Ray Charles and Betty Carter. Some of those copies, don't even have his name credited, but he was an engineer on that product. And unbelievable sound. Just an incredible sounding album. If you haven't heard that record and you are interested in excellent quality of sound reproduction, a great one to find. Even the CD copy comes across well. CD vinyl, it comes through. One of the unique things about Al was that he was so adaptable. When it came to different styles of music, he was able to adapt so well and got along well with such a wide variety of personalities. One of the reasons for his success was the fact that he was so charismatic and he was loved. When he worked with people, there was a good vibe in the room. He was like a grounding elder to rock artists. Not only in the jazz world where he flourished, but he did records in many genres, in folk rock, in psychedelic rock. In the 60s, he worked with the Jefferson Airplane and really made some of their best albums. One of them, right here, After Bathing at Baxter's, sonically incredible, kind of recorded like a jazz record. Now this band was a fan, especially Grace Slick, was a big fan of Miles Davis. You can hear it in the drum pattern on the famous, the big hit song, White Rabbit. Very similar to Sketches of Spain, Miles Davis. They talk about that in interviews, how they were influenced by that record. He had a long-standing working relationship with Diane Krall. They made many records together, along with producer Tommy LaPuma. The three of them were a kind of a dream team in terms of creating records that sounded sonically brilliant. The last collaboration they did, this was one of them, The Girl in the Other Room. A lot of original material on this record by Diane Krall. A lot of her records, she did a lot of covers of jazz standards, but in a way that made them fresh. This was actually a lot of original stuff and covers, stuff that she and her husband, Elvis Costello, wrote for this record. Great stuff. The last record that the three of them, Krall, LaPuma, and Schmitt, did together is called Turning Up the Quiet. If you haven't heard this record, you might want to seek it out. Also, one of the most fantastic sonic sound reproductions, just an incredible marvel of sound, this record. Incredibly well done. I think it's their best, in my opinion. And it was the swan song of the three of them working together, as we lost Al last year, and LaPuma also passed away in 2017, I think. So they really left their mark, did some wonderful work together. Al Schmitt was a dynamic character. he benefited not only from natural ability, but he had the benefit of having come up from a young age, observing and learning. He had a sense of humbleness about him. He was just a really well-rounded artist, engineer, producer. And when he worked with people, you could tell that he brought out the best in his artists. Another case in point, Jackson Browne, Late for the Sky. Probably Jackson's most popular record, critically lauded, always admired this particular record. I think Al did one or two others with him. This in particular, a collaboration between Al and Jackson Browne. A fine moment, a great sounding album. So for audiophiles, people that really enjoy the quality of their music sonically as much as the quality of the songwriting, which is of course number one, the performances are 95% of it. Even if it's not a great recording, great albums don't have to sound great sonically. But if you enjoy that element of listening, and if you are an audiophile, obviously you do, great records to be enjoyed on vinyl. Jackson Browne, Late for the Sky, great stuff, made with love and experience and an incredible range in the ability to capture all sorts of music using certain principles that apply across the board. Al Schmitt had the magic touch. It wasn't about the equipment as much as it was about his ears, his touch. He had the gift of knowing how to achieve the best representation from his artist. Another thing that I will mention about Al is that he was progressive. He wasn't stuck in the past. He embraced digital recording technology. It had come so far. Digital recording has gotten really good. Analog is always going to be classic, but what Al used to do is he would incorporate digital and analog elements into his work, and he did it very well. So he was up on technology. He wasn't they don't do it like they used to do it and all this. He had the ability and the sophistication to use everything that worked. He had his favorite microphones. He had his favorite gear. But he also, besides his favorite analog pieces, he used digital technology to achieve results. So that is what I wanted to say about Al. How dynamic he was, how open-minded he was, and how modern he was. Regardless of his history, his classic influence, from Sam Cooke all the way up through Melody Gardeaux, who is a fine vocalist. She is actually from Philadelphia. I think she was born in New Jersey, but she moved to France and has done very well in Europe. A tremendous singer, one of my favorites, female singers. I love her very much. Her work is great. They also did a few records together that are really special. The last record that Al produced was Melody Gardeaux's Sunset in the Blue album. Another great feat of engineering. A marvelous album. If you want something to relax to, if you come home from a hard day and you want to listen to an album that soothes your soul, listen to Melody Gardeaux, Sunset in the Blue. They also, 10 years before that, in 2010, they did her breakthrough record, My One and Only Thrill. Also, just a marvelous record. Brings a tear to the eye. The songwriting, the way that it was sonically captured. Just a stunning record. Both of those records are great achievements. So Al Schmitt, a dynamic, wonderful human being. He will be missed terribly, and he was a great contributor to the world of recording and the values that result in great work. Being well-rounded, having the breadth of experience, using it all. He did that very well. So thank you for listening. Check out Al Schmitt and have a great one. Take care.